my first introduction to you officially was from last year. So to kind of give a bit of backstory, because I'm not sure if Todd had told you this story before, but so I had done a review of a film that he had helped out with and was in for like a split second, which was called Daylight's End. And I did a review for that movie. And then Todd had reached out and said, "Hey, I've done a film called Cherokee Creek. Would you be interested?" So,
Cool.
so at the time, I was, I think at the time I was kind of not that I felt pretentious, but I felt like, no, I don't want to shit on a movie if I don't like it, so I'm not gonna review it. So I told that to Todd. So Todd said, "Yeah, let me know what you think, and we'll go from there." I saw the first 10 minutes. I loved what I saw. So I
Cool.
messaged Todd right away and I said, "I love this movie. I'd be happy to review. I'd be honored to review it. And then would you be on my show?" He said, "Yeah." So we got all that worked out. This was all last year.
Oh, wow.
So moving forward, when I had saw the movie, I loved your character, Vinny Blades. And then I
Nice.
remember at the time I thought, you look so familiar. And then once I looked into your history, I said, "Oh, you've been in Machete. Okay, I have seen you before." So that was kind of the
Oh,
introduction for me.
yeah.
And then as a result of that, to get more backstory, Brett Beman is a guy who you've worked with before on
Yep.
several occasions here. So he reached out to the channel that I work with, Nerds Rule the World, and said, "Hey, would you guys be interested in checking out some of my films and review them?" And then my Patrick, who runs the channel, reached out to me, say, "Would you be interested in checking out this filmmaker's films and do a review?" Sure, no problem. So
Yeah.
since I posted up on social media one episode I did last year, and Brett had reached out in the comments, said, "I would love to be on your show." I said, "Yeah, let's work it out." So we worked it out, and then I started looking into the films that he had done. The first film that I came across was Copper Bill. And
Copper.
when
Oh,
I did not know you were in the movie, because I actually missed, I wouldn't say that I missed the first like 5 minutes of it. It's just because I was in the middle of something, but I just kind of kept peeking back and forth to make sure that I wasn't missing anything that
right,
was
right,
really
right.
integral. It was just Dustin doing his thing in the beginning. So I had no idea you were in the movie. So as I'm watching
Uh-huh.
the film, you show up at the end, a little bit towards the past middle,
Towards
the
the end,
midway
a little
point.
middle.
And I was like, "Oh shit, Vinny Blades, Billy Blair." So I was like, okay. So I was already in the film to begin with here, but so I
Uh-huh.
noticed that you were in the movie, and I thought, has he done other films with Brett as well too? And then by chance, I happened to come across your social media post, and at that time last year, I did a review for Whitetail, which is a film that you were also in as well.
Yep.
That you work with Derek and Jason
Jason,
through
yeah.
Muscular Puppy. Saw that movie. I love that film as well too. I had a conversation with Jason as well, along with Derek. So that's a whole different conversation we'll get into in a little bit here. But
Right, right, right.
it just seemed like by chance, ever since I got Todd reaching out to me, I came across the things he's done, things you've done, and little by little, the people that you have worked with, somehow, some way, shape, or form, I had conversations with here, and you've had a working relationship on more than one occasion with them.
Yeah.
So it kind of just worked out that way. And for a long time, ever since I saw what you've done with Cherokee Creek, then Whitetail, then you had a very small cameo in Buxton, which is a film that I thoroughly enjoyed. Copper Bill, of course, Operation Overlord, Redstone, just to name a few. So
Yeah.
once I've became acquainted with everyone that you've worked with here, I appreciated you as an actor. And then I started looking into some other stuff you've done as well too. So I've listened to quite a few songs, like quite a few works you've done with your music, with
Mhm.
Junk, and then of course Lovesick Drug.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's quite a few stuff that I came across here. So I I was trying to find a way how I could try to give you some insight about how this all came to be. So, but it's kind of a long. So this is just a condensed version of everything that I just told you here.
Right.
But as a result of what I've come across to Cherokee Creek, which was the starting point here for me, where I became a fan of you, especially since what I've seen so far. And quite frankly, there's a lot of things that I've come across too that I've seen, especially with Whitetail. It really was Whitetail that made me realize, okay, this guy is a really, really good actor, because I loved what you did in that movie.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
No, I really mean that too. So, and then from there, Redstone, among other things as well, we'll get into in a bit here. So, as a result of me checking out your work, I've also checked out quite a few interviews that you've done as well too, which kind of took me a long time to reach out to, because I'll be frank with you, there was a part of me that was a little nervous to ask, because Todd in the past has said before, because I bought Cherokee Creek from it, and it was one of the Blu-rays you had signed from for however long ago it was that he still
Right.
kept, and he sent it out to me. And then he's like, "But Billy's always busy. He's always in doing something." And I was like, "There's no way I'm going to bother him right now. If he's doing a show, because you post on your social media, you're doing conventions, a show, film work and so on and so forth. And I've talked to Jason, I'm sorry, I meant to say Derek, which he did reveal that you guys, that one of the next film he's going to be doing was a starring role for you, which is why I messaged you in the message board that, Derek did reveal that to me. He didn't give me insight for obvious reasons, but I knew that was something you were working, which I'm really excited to see what he's gonna have you do next with the film, because I love what you have done in his movies.
Oh yeah.
So that being said, there's so much that I do want to cover, but I'm really curious to find out what some of the aspects about yourself, because the amount of interviews you've done in the past, I've figured have already been asked before, so there's nothing for me to do it here again. So, but here's what I want to say though. Truly, I hope you don't think if I'm making this up here, but I really was looking forward to reaching out to speak with you for such a long, long time. But there was a part of me that was nervous because you're busy, and when you had made the announcement you're selling the Cherokee Creek hot sauce, excuse me. I was like, ask him now. I was like, no, because then it's gonna sound like I'm interfering. I don't want to intrude. I was like, fuck it, just ask. Well, I'm glad I did, because they just, yeah, sure, let's do it. So that was a huge deal for me personally, because I really was looking forward to. So if anything, I am honored that we're talking here. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, I mean that.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So,
yeah, man, dude, it's just like if you get me at the right time, I'll make it happen. I'll make it happen. Absolutely. Yeah. So shoot away.
Well, so here's what I was going to ask you about here, because there's a few things that I have. When I came across the work you've done, I didn't realize how many things you've done in the past, from as far as your filmography is concerned, that I have come across. There's some little bits here and there you've done throughout the years. I mean, you mentioned before you've worked. I mean, you've worked with Rob Zombie, meant to say, even opened up for his brother's band, Powerman 5000. I think on more than one occasion, if I recall correctly. And then, of course, just working with a number of actors as well too, and directors, Robert Rodriguez and so on. So I didn't realize the amount of people that you've worked with here until I started doing some more research with you, which kind of leads me to something that I'm really curious about here with you, because I actually came across something that you had posted on social media, which I've seen on more than one occasion. It was a short film that was recently released last year, if I recall correctly, in December, If Only. I want to talk about that one. So I want to talk about that with you first for two reasons. The first was because it's a film that you have done with your daughter, who is for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's you, to kind of get a bit of backstory. You play a former rock star who's trying to reconnect with your daughter, whom you hadn't seen we can presume for quite some time, but you're nervous to do so here.
Oh yeah.
So here's one thing that I loved about your performance in Whitetail that was very reminiscent from what I saw in If Only, which is that I think you're great when it comes to the comedic elements that you offer in the films you've done, especially with B-22, and even to some degree with Whitetail, especially Redstone. But with this performance here, a lot of things that I loved about your performance in Whitetail, not that it was the same character, but it had the same, what's the word I would say, the same beats, if you will. Like there's a silence about your characters that I thought worked very effectively, because there's a certain way you carry yourself that I thought worked very well.
Right.
With that performance, though, I believe that, if given the opportunity, if this was going to be a fleshed out story, there was so much more that we could have seen of you as an actor, that people could have looked at you in a different light, as opposed to what we've normally been accustomed to seeing you before in the past. I'm not sure if this was something that you guys were just simply a short film to be doing here, or if this is a potential idea to hopefully expand to make it a feature-length film to add more to those stories, or at least with the story we were introduced in that short film. Because truthfully, that was a beautifully shot film and a beautifully done story that I know you were very proud of as well too.
Oh yeah, I love it.
So I think that if there's anything that I want to highlight here first, is just the little nuggets that I think most people tend to overlook. So I'm hoping that you will be able to share some more insight about that, because quite frankly, I don't know a lot about you personally, but I do know that there were some elements that I believe were definitely taken from your real life. They were incorporated to that story, and having your daughter involved certainly kind of added on to the realism to the story that we got from that short film too. So was that kind of a fair assessment to make about what I came across the film?
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, okay. So like all those elements you said that I bring onto film. I mean, it's just, I don't know. it's kind of like it's a good analogy here. It's like I remember how much I liked the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
And when they asked him how he got into that, he just like said, "Man, I just showed up." And I get it when he says that, because we just kind of come unprepared, right?
Mhm.
I mean, you have actors that work that shit, like Daniel Day-Lewis, man. I mean,
Yeah. Method
once he gets
acting.
cast, he becomes that character.
Yeah, yeah.
But then you have like other things where you just like, all right, well, you just show up, and then the magic just happens. I think I'm like that, man. I just show up, and then it kind of just happens. And once I get it, and once I'm locked in there, then I kind of remain that way. I can't say that I'm a method actor, but I mean, I definitely try to just stay the same that whole time while I'm on set. But I bring all the elements of life, and I've said this before. It's like, man, if you lived a life and you've been through like turmoil, depression, breakup, all those elements of your emotions, right? I mean, they're embedded in you. So and if you're an actor, especially, when to get those things out of you.
Mhm.
So you kind of go back during that time, whatever that moment was. Good example was I don't know if you ever seen the movie Dead Awake.
That's with the Peter Jackson one, right?
Uh, who's all in that?
It sounds really familiar.
It's the same writers of. Man, I got to look up like who's all in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about Dead Alive, probably.
That's
what I'm
no,
thinking of.
yeah. So Dead Awake, same writers that did not Fast and Furious. What is it? Final Destination, the movie.
Okay.
It's the horror movie where it's like
Yeah,
everybody dies. Go watch it, man. I know, like all of them are like
They all.
that. They're all like that.
I know. I
It's
see where
like,
you're going with here, though.
which blonde? No, but anyways, so that movie, if you watch it, you can watch it. I believe on Amazon, all that stuff. Dead Awake. I got a cameo in there. Well, there's a scene in there where I bust. I don't want to give you any spoiler alerts, but I'm just like I break down crying really bad, and that took a lot out of me. And so I went somewhere in my mind for that, to get
Okay.
those elements, to really sell it. So I don't know. I mean, that's what I do. Just whatever that moment is. Sometimes I don't want to think too much hard about it, because if you do that, then you mess up. I don't know. Maybe it's like a jinx kind of thing, right? It's like you just
Mhm.
don't want to think too much about it. You just kind of show up and then just let the magic happen. Does that answer your question?
It does. Well, so here's something that I'm curious about, because and again, I hope you don't mind me bringing this up, because Todd has shared
No,
the
go ahead.
story on more than one occasion here. So I figured, and you kind of touch upon it as well too. I think in some interviews you may have done in the past.
Yeah.
But like for example, with Cherokee Creek, obviously there are a lot of things that you have shared in the film that were very much based on real events that you have experienced in life, and then they were incorporated in the story.
Well,
You were going to say?
no, I was gonna say Cherokee Creek's almost like a true life event.
Right, right. What I was
Did
going to point out.
did he explain to you where he got all the
Oh yeah, yeah.
ideas?
I was fully aware of a lot of the stuff beforehand, and
Yeah.
then and since then as well too. But the thing that really that caught my attention, that I honestly did not know until I think I heard him recently. He was doing a Twitch stream on a channel called Comedy Cinema, and I
Mhm.
believe it was that one. But he was talking about how yeah, all these things you see in the film, like the my atheist friend, that's based on a real life person.
Yeah,
Billy
yeah,
experienced a haunting, had a haunting experience at one point,
yeah.
and all this stuff. So, but the one thing I think he pointed out, and I think even Todd was like, yeah, I had to go there because I wanted to get something out of Billy for this performance here. And I figured that, hey, I'm going to go down this route. Are you going to be okay with it here? And you were like, yeah, fuck it, just do it. One of the things he said was, and this is why I was asking about if you're okay with this here, because there's a part of the story in Cherokee Creek where you're about to bang the strippers, or one of the strippers rather. And he was like, "You're gonna spread your seed all over these people here." And what about this time about you fucking me over about going to Canada, and then you forgot it,
Oh,
so, all those elements
yeah,
in there. But he was
yeah.
also highlighting about some of the personal aspects that kind of stems from that as well too. And he had asked you, "Are you going to be okay?" Because I'm going to mention some things that happened to you in your real life with regards
Oh,
to
yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
popular
I'm cool
figure.
with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so again, to me, again, this is what I was asking because I was really curious to talk with you because I feel like there are some things that you were. I'm curious to ask this question of somebody who has those experiences where you're using all those elements from your life into the performance here. Was that hard for you? Because the fact that hey, you've had this history in this period of your life that you've done this, and it's going to be carry over. And I'm telling these women not to do this, but they don't seem to care. And fuck it, I'm just going to do what I'm going to take care of myself. But in a long ways, he's kind of like putting you out under, throwing you under the bus in a lot of ways. But it
I
came
get it.
from parts of your life.
Mhm.
So having that him say that in the film, knowing that that's going to be out there, especially that it's going to be commentated on, it's going to be discussed there. Was there a part of you that thought, you know what, maybe I should hold back and say, Todd, just avoid this, mention this, but don't mention that, because it seems like Todd was like, I'm going to go full blast, and you're going to be okay with it. Cool, yeah. And then
Yeah.
the scene worked out the way that it did. But
Mhm.
I'm curious about how you felt about it at that time, and if your sentiments have changed about that since then, when you have those elements of your life added in there.
No, dude, I'm all about it. Especially now when it comes to like film, I'm all about it. Whether if I don't feel right about it at the time or not, if I'm gonna regret it later, whatever happens on film, I want to sell it.
Okay.
Um, I mean, and in the personal life thing, I mean, we all got something, you
Right.
know, in our
Right.
lives that we're not happy about, or we're kind of a little bit embarrassed or whatever. But that's just life,
Right. Right.
and it goes to show I'm just a normal human being like anybody else.
Right. Right.
But yeah, and it worked. I mean, it worked for the movie. It worked
Yeah.
for that for that scene, and yeah, man, I was cool with it. And to this day, here's the thing: like to this day, I, I don't feel bad about it because I mean, if you go back to the movie and then you look at it, and then he talks about where I couldn't get my uh, what do you call it, passport,
Yeah.
because of what was it? It was a child support thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that was true. At the time, I couldn't do it, and but today I'm good. I got my passport A, and everything's good in my life. I'm caught
Right.
up with everything. I'm caught up with the child support payments.
Okay. Well, I mean, again, because like I said before, like there are certain things that certain people just don't want out there, and I understand why.
Right.
But I found how you approach it and how Todd seemed very knowing that you're okay with it, right? And you both
Yeah.
were on the same boat about that. But it's interesting for me to hear that. And again, not to discuss, to gossip. It's not what I'm referring to, but it's
Right.
interesting for you to bring to have that out there like that, because I'll be frank with you. I think it does take a certain mindset for someone to be open about it and be willing to discuss it. I'm not saying it makes a person tougher, but I think there's a certain mindset the person that must be able to learn how to communicate what was going through at that time, and for you to say it's okay. It's something that I've done, and I'm sure you have your feelings about that even then and now. But even then, for you to be able to share that, that's not a very common thing to see what people do, because a lot of those
Yeah.
things that are in this film or in Cherokee Creek specifically do come from almost every aspect of your life in
Oh,
some
yeah.
way, shape, or form that formulates a story. But just Bigfoot is in the middle of it all,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
one
I
thing
mean, I
I
was.
found about the film that was so unique in that respect. It's a true story, more or less, but Bigfoot's in the middle of it all. Um,
Right.
but well, here's what I was curious about with you now, because I'm not sure how things have changed for you personally in terms of like the career that you've taken here. Because for example, you've done a number of different films, worked with a number of different directors, really good ones as well too.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it sounds like to me once Todd came into the picture, a lot has changed for you, primarily when it came to the audition tapes, which is something that Todd does for on the side, if I recall correctly, where he
Yeah.
helps a lot of actors do their audition tapes, headshots and whatnot. And it
Mhm.
sounds like for the most part, people get some sort of response after they've had, that those sessions with him. And that's kind of what you implied as well too. So I'm curious now that, now that things have changed for you providing more opportunities, I would say, do you feel like for yourself now that things have gotten better in terms of like the opportunities that are being presented to you, or the opportunities that you're getting to be able to walk through certain doors, say for auditions or whatever the case may be, having developed working relation with a lot of numerous directors that say, hey, we liked you, we want you to come back to shoot this film with
Yeah,
us for X amount of time? Like, have things gotten better in that respect for yourself?
yeah, man. Uh, yes, and yes and no. I mean,
Okay.
yes. Like Robert, Robert opens his door to me, man. I mean, I like Robert Rodriguez. I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I've been in what, 5 of his movies?
Yeah, you've been Alita Battle Angel, Machete
Yeah,
1 and 2, and A Dame to Kill For. Those are the 4 that I remember off the top of my head.
yeah. So it's just like he's opened the door for me. Like, even though he does make me audition, he'll what what's cool about him, he gives me all these characters to read. I guess like he just wants to see which one I fit in, and eventually I'm gonna get that one. Except it didn't happen on this last one, and I'm okay with that because
Yeah.
another movie and I didn't get it. But I'm not gonna get mad. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I know that they're not always gonna be able to use you. So, um, but yeah, I mean, other movies too. Also, here's the thing, man. A great story to tell. There's a actor friend of mine from New Orleans. Forgetting names. Forget his name. Damn it.
I
Hang on,
forget
my
names
phone's up
too.
there. I was gonna get my phone, but the phone's up there. Anyways, he's been in some big stuff, and we hung out one time, and he gave me some pointers. He goes, "Hey, because you've done this amount of big films, you're gonna get all these uh, up and coming directors that are gonna want you, you know, and so don't turn them down because that's gonna be the future, right?
Right.
That's gonna be the future Robert Rodriguez or Quentin Tarantino, whatever it is. So you gotta be polite and you gotta be kind, all that stuff. And I get that. And I took that to heart and I'm like, yeah. And then sure enough, yeah, he was right. It's just like the independent road for me opened up tremendously. And I mean, I cherish it every bit of the way. Now, you know, like the bigger actors, yeah, you want to open that door. And those are not so quite as easy. It's just it's a bigger production, and they deal with a bigger plateau of actors. And and by all means, man, I don't consider myself up there. I'm trying to. It's just it's like I don't know. It's just like I feel like I'm almost there, but I'm
Well,
not.
so
You know what I mean?
here's what I'm curious about when you say that here, because I want to understand what you mean by that, because um for myself, and I've shared this story before, where when I thought of, if I were to, because I used to want to be an actor but not anymore, but when I thought about it, I was I had the wrong ideas about why I wanted to be an actor. Not because I love, I mean, I guess I did love movies, but I was doing it for more of the superficial reasons. That was the mindset that I had at that time. And then obviously, as I've gotten older, that's no longer part of my thought process.
Right.
But when you're saying that you getting bigger, are you referring to like more opportunities, or are you really referring to the fame and glory, and that the fame and glory would present to you with these opportunities that could come with the bigger project you're going to be working on, or the amount of money that you could probably earn from working on potential projects that would be more than likely big hits, because more people would tend to watch those films as opposed to more of the other independent films that you have been doing as of late. But but I'm curious about what you mean by that, because it sounds like to me, and I hope I don't come off the wrong way when I say this here, but it sounds like to me that you're not really, at least to me, you're not really doing it for the fame and glory. I think if you say you are doing, if you're going to be doing it for the fame and glory, it's because of the opportunities that it may present to you, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, at one point in my life, too, when I was younger, I wanted fame and glory and all that stuff, and we all did when we were younger.
Yeah.
when, or maybe I just, yeah, at one point I was like that, even with the band stuff. You wanted to be the rock star, stuff like that. But I don't know, man. I want to say I'm real about it, and I just want to work. I always say I just want to work. I don't care about the. I just want to work. I want to have a job. I want to be able to just do that. You know what I mean? For a
Right,
living,
right.
and not worry about having to pay the rent, stuff like that. You're struggling, stuff like that. I mean, it's just, I'm not. I don't feel I'm up there yet. I don't think
Mhm.
so. I want to be able to do the Academy Award winning stuff. I mean, by all means, yeah, I want to do that. Of course I do. Um, Luckily, like some of these independent films, they are winning awards.
Mhm.
Like I just posted the other day. I got a movie that's going to come out called What Josiah Saw,
Yeah, yeah, I saw that.
and they won
Yeah.
an award at it's somewhere overseas, man. Some Fantomas, I guess. I forget what film festival it was, but they won an award for uh, what I post, like for for the cast, for having such a great cast.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
it's just like stuff like that. I get excited about. Yeah, I like the award winning stuff. I want to get better at that. But at the same time, I would love, and who wouldn't, get in something with a Star Wars stuff, or a Marvel comic. You know what I mean? Something big like that.
yeah.
And I always say, like, if you do something like that, I like the convention world too, like meeting the fans and all that stuff. That whole world is fun. It is really fun, and it's another gig of its own. But I would like to do that as well. So sometimes, in order to do that, you got to have. I mean, I'm lucky enough to be in Rob Zombie movie,
Mhm.
or Rodriguez movie, or Jonah Hex, to say,
Yeah.
in order to do that, because they're along those realms, like the Comic Cons or the Horror Cons. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So yeah, everything, all that, and it helps the band too. I mean, I just like the whole entertainment industry. But does that answer your question?
It does. Well, I mean, because honestly, I don't know what the answer is going to be because it's kind of up in the air for a lot because the way you may go, the way you go about it for me, the trajectory that I'm seeing, how I see you go about it, it seems like
Yeah,
to me, as I said before, whatever the opportunity presents itself, you're willing to take it. And I think because, like I said before, when I'm going back to Todd and your Todd's reaction about how you guys work with each other, Todd will throw an idea. Hey, I'm going to say this here. You cool with it? Yeah, let's go. Whatever is going to make it work. Even Brett
yeah.
himself as well too will say, "Hey, I'm thinking about an idea I want to do, and I'm thinking about having you do this, this, and that." And his invitation of you is like, "Oh yeah, I got it, I got it, I got it. Okay, we got an idea. Let's go and do this. I got what I want to do."
Mhm.
So it seems like everyone that I've come across here that has worked with you has a pretty good rapport with you because you're a team player. And
Oh yeah,
secondly, you're also willing to try something that would help tell the story. And one of the things
yeah.
I always highlight about the productions that I've come across here that with you is whether you have a small role or you're not the main focus, whatever the case may be, you are typically the best part about the film for me personally.
Oh, thanks, man.
No, I mean that too. Like one of the things that I was pointing out before about Bullshit, because I did a review for that movie too. I loved your character, but I loved the chemistry you have with Tom Hallam, whom I've
Oh,
also
Tom's
talked
great.
with as well. Yeah, he's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
I've talked with him before, and but one thing that Brett had also pointed out too is that one of the things he noticed right away about Copper Bill is that the chemistry that both you and Tom have together was like top tier. And then
Yeah,
from there, you guys have done Operation Overlord, and you've worked together again, obviously in Bull Shark. I'm trying to think what other things you've worked on together after that. I can't recall off the top of my head here, but uh, but it's clearly obvious that the fact that they're asking you to come back, that's a good sign. But the most important thing is that they clearly see what you're able to pull off here. One thing that Brad had pointed out too that I agree with as well was that there's one particular moment in the movie for Operation Overlord where you do show some dramatic range in the film, without
mhm.
ruining if anybody hasn't seen the film. But it's the thing is that I I always hope that people will give a film of that sort an opportunity to at least give it a shot. Whether they like the film or not, fine, I get it, but check out what the actors have been able to pull off, whether it be not that the entire film, but just certain pockets in the movie where you showcase certain strength that your character wasn't necessarily known for in the beginning. And then later on, you develop time with the character. You notice, okay, so I can see where they're, who they are as individuals.
Right.
So it sounds kind of generic for me to say this here, but the reason I'm pointing it out for you is because it's quite obvious that both Derek, Brett, obviously Robert, and I know I think you've only worked with Rob Zombie once, if I recall.
Rob Zombie one time, yeah.
One time, yeah. Okay. So with all these other directors that you've worked with here, it's clearly obvious they noticed something about you that works very well on camera, but works very well because you offer something that's really unique to your take on a character. So what I was trying to go with this here is this. Because I've talked to you before in when we were messaging each other that Derek was revealing it to me too, that there is a starring role that he's working on for you to be in. And I said, I don't know if you knew this here, but I said my piece about what I felt about Redstone, and I talked to both Derek and Jason directly about that here. But the best thing about the movie, one of the best things about the film that I took away from was your performance. But when he said, and one thing I think you're gonna like about this next film that I'm working right now is that it's gonna be a starring role for Billy Blair, so I think you'll like it. I was like, I'm in. That's all I said. That's all he
No,
said.
yeah, you're gonna like it, man.
Yeah,
It's really good.
I have some slight insight. He didn't give me everything, but he gave me some insight, and I'm like, okay, dude, just work your magic. Don't tell me anything else.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
in.
gonna let him discuss it.
Yeah, but
But it's good.
but I'm aware of what the project is, and I am really excited to see it because again, it's an opportunity that I'm hoping will give more people to see, be aware of who you are as an actor, and knowing how Derek tells his stories. Um, and after I saw what what you guys had done with Whitetail and even with Redstone too, um, I really hope this will be the platform to give you the opportunity to try. You should check out Billy Blair. This is a
Oh,
good movie.
well, thank
This
you,
is,
man. I
yeah,
really appreciate that, man.
yeah,
And you know what? I've seen you. I gotta admit, like with you, dude, you're straight up, man, and I dig that. And you're straight up about it, and you're like uh you respect it at the same
yeah.
time,
I do respect it. Yeah,
and you love it. It's just like even if like there's like little points that you don't like, you'll say it
yeah,
straight up about it, but
yeah,
you like it. Like I think I've seen like some of the reviews you did with like Brett's movies and stuff like that,
yeah.
and I I I could genuinely say that you're that genuine guy that
Oh
I
man,
believe every word you say. So
you know,
thank you, man.
no. This is kind of me being fanboying right now, but that means a lot. It really does. So I appreciate you saying that. I really, really do
Thank you.
mean that.
Yeah.
Well, so here's what I want to point out next here with you because the one thing I started to become more of a fan of here is actually with Lovesick Drug. Here's a song that I came across that I love, and I added it to my playlist here, and I mean when I say this as well,
Uh,
Radio. I
Radio.
love that song. I think it's a
Awesome.
great song. But here's another thing I also picked up too with yourself about your career. I I was curious to find out about how the balancing act, music and acting, because I know that you started off as a musician. You've been playing music for such a long period of time,
Yeah.
and I know you're very passionate about both. But I'm curious though because I would imagine if if there came to a point where this acting gig's not working for me anymore, but I got the music, so I can fall back on that, and I love it just as much.
Yeah.
But I'm also
Oh,
curious as well too if there's ever a point where you felt like there's a love-hate relationship where fuck acting right now, I'm gonna play rock and roll, or fuck rock and roll, I'm gonna do my acting right now, because I
yeah.
think that with both sides of the industry, there's a bit of stress that comes with the jobs that you're having to do here.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
What?
so I'm wondering how you go about that for yourself, because I'll be honest with you, there are some times where I'm wondering if you're doing one over the other and one picks up whereas the other one does not, what does that mean for you as an artist for yourself? Where, hey, I love this as much, but because this is taken off from me, I'm gonna have to take a break on this. So I always wonder if that's gonna be a thought process for yourself.
Well,
If you
I'll tell you right now. I mean, now I've had shows where I had a show booked and a movie booked at the same time, and I choose film first. I mean, I love being on set. That's A. be. It's bread and butter. I mean,
Yeah,
I'll be straightforward. I mean, the music business sucks
that's what I
bad,
heard. Yeah.
but I grew up into that, man. As a kid, I was, and in my family too. I mean, it's a musical background. I have like an entertainment background, so it's in my blood, and I just got to do it. But I put movie first, then the music, and so what I've done in the past is like if I had a show, one thing I don't like is canceling or postponing any of that shit. So and it sucks for like any fans that go sees my band play and I'm not there. I'll get somebody to cover for me. So the band plays, but I'm not there. I gotta fill in, whatever.
Mm.
So, and I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? I It's not fair to the other guys in the band. You know, I'm just again team player. It's like I don't want to let these guys down. It's like do the show. Uh, I'll get a fill in for myself in the band, and then I go shoot a movie. So I don't know. It's kind of a win-win, you know.
Mhm.
But that's what I do. That's
So,
how I do it.
do you have someone that you have like in your Rolodex that you can call and say, "Hey, I gotta be on set tonight, but I got a gig tonight. Can you fill it in for me?"
Yeah,
And okay, but so do they know the songs already ahead of time
yeah.
before you call?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I get professional guys. I mean, anybody that's been playing guitar forever, they'll pick it up like that.
Mm.
So um, sometimes I sing too,
Hmm.
and just depending on if like Love Sick Drug right now, I'm just guitar backing vocals. So we had this guy that was going to fill in a couple of shows because I thought I wasn't going to be able to make it, but luckily enough, I was able to make the show. But he was there on standby, and he's just a guitar player, and he got it down. I mean, everything else. I mean, I just taught him everything, but he's always there in case the next time I can't be there, he'll fill in.
So here's what I'm curious about you because you're actually in a unique position. 'Cause I've been wanting to ask somebody about this here for a while. You've hinted before. You said before that the music industry right now doesn't pay very well, and
Yeah,
and that's kind of the general consensus I hear from a lot of people who are more or less in the industry in that respect. Whereas
yeah.
acting is more or less your bread and butter. So because you're kind of playing both sides of the field here, for yourself, what's much more harder for you in terms of like the handling of the business aspect of it here too? Because film is one thing, music is another thing, but you're only doing one aspect of as far as the film industry is concerned in terms of acting, maybe to some degree producing, because you did that with Cherokee Creek, writing to some degree, but doing more or less all that with the music industry where I would imagine you help write a lot of the music,
Yeah.
to some degree produce. So it seems like to me you're more hands-on in that respect than you are with acting. So seeing both sides of that for yourself, which is the hardest one for you to navigate through when it comes to how you conduct yourself when it comes to the business side of it?
I don't know. It's both kind of the same. I mean, like the music stuff. The music's easy. I mean, it's just I write the songs, get it out there. I mean, it's luckily my other guitar player in the band, which is a godsend. It's a blessing. I mean, he's more savvy in the business like I am, and he's more of the business part. So I let him deal with all that stuff.
Mm, okay.
The acting, yeah. So getting our music out in the platforms, and then the hardest thing is I guess getting the shows. But right now, well, the hardest thing right now is we're trying to finish a record. So we're almost finishing the record. Once we get the record done, and we're gonna go on tour.
For
So
nationwide or like it's statewide?
nationwide,
Oh,
nationwide, we'll
interesting.
be
Okay.
everywhere. Um, the movies, I mean, it's just getting the gig. Once I get the gig, then then I'm, you know, then it's smooth sailing, I guess, because I just gotta memorize my lines and then go on set, or just go whenever it's time to go. I don't know. I never really think hard about it. I just kind of go with it. And I'm
Mm,
so
okay.
used to doing both. Where I'm I can navigate both pretty well. You know what I mean?
Okay. But
Because I've been doing it for so long where it's just like I
second
know how to.
nature.
Yeah, it is second nature.
Okay.
So I say the hardest thing is trying to get the gig. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
once I get the gig, then I know what to do.
Okay, so let me ask you something else about your perspective on both sides of the industry here. Okay, so for example, when you make a movie
Right.
and the film gets released, obviously, this is a business, so you have to rely on people wanting to put in a good, put in good word out there. This is a good movie, check it out, and then people will pay it so that way you can, it will grant more opportunities and for you to try other things as well too.
Right.
Music obviously is the same thing as well, but when it comes to how the reaction to a film is where people watch it and say their bit on it, critique on it. Then it
Mm.
comes to the critique and people going to the shows and providing their critique on. I saw the band play, they
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
X,
Yeah.
Y, and Z. For you though, is there a difference in how you handle each side of that critique when it comes to the music, and especially when it comes to playing live shows, releasing the record, and then when it comes to films, doing the film, working your ass on it, on both sides, of course, having the film released, and then people either will say good or bad things about it, and how you respond to those critiques? Is there a difference for yourself how you handle that, or is it the same across the board when it comes to how people react to your music as opposed to your films?
Man, I go 100% on both. Given a show or given my performance. Now, it's up to the people. No matter what, whatever you put out, some people are not going to like it. Some are going to love it.
Right.
You're going to get both parts of the aspect of everything. Uh, you know, it's just up to them. But I can't apologize for it because it's like, hey, I did the best I could on that. Whether it's playing in the show or being my performance in the movie. That's just for them to decide. And
Right.
then, however they think about it, I think about it. It goes in my head. By all means, I listen, and I don't go, fuck that guy. I listen to what they say because I want to know. Because maybe I could have done it a certain way. I mean, dude, it's just like sometimes it's just human nature.
Right.
You don't know, you go in it at one way, but when you hear the criticism, like I should have done this and that, I'll take it to heart, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll do that next time. Or if it just sounds ridiculous, I'm like, yeah, well, fuck that
But what for you? What warrants like a critique that you will listen and and consider what they're saying for you to think, what, maybe I'll be looking into this a little bit more now because this person said I should have done this better, or they
guy.
didn't
Yeah.
like how I did this. Like what for you is an idea would be a critique that would get you to think that way?
Uh, what would
Well, for example, like, so
say it again?
if someone says in a review, I didn't like Billy Blair's performance, it sucked, right?
Okay.
Obviously, when someone does a review like that, there's nothing you can take away from that because they're not giving context, they're not giving some constructive
Well,
criticism. But if someone gives
you
you
got to make
constructive
sure,
criticism,
like, yeah, it's just like, well, I mean, maybe this guy's just not really a fan of mine, and he hates me for some reason. I'll look into that. It's like, what else has he said about me? Because if he just hates me, then sorry, buddy. It's just like I am what I am. But I mean, if they say, man, his performance here was blah, I don't know. It just depends, man. I was just like, well, the character was supposed to be a lame kind of guy. So,
mm,
it's just like maybe I did do my performance after all. I mean, I don't know. I
so
mean, I'll listen to it.
so
I don't
would
know. It
you
just depends.
do you think you would probably take more constructive criticism? I think every actor probably would do this here, but if a director could, hey, I saw this movie, I liked the film, but I didn't like your performance, and let me tell you why. Under those
Yeah.
circumstances, that would be, I think most actors say, especially if it's a director that they respect their work, they
Yeah.
respect their skill level, and so in that respect, I think because I was trying more pertain to like a critic like myself, someone on
Yeah.
YouTube or writing a journal, whatever the case, or writing a report or an article, I meant to say.
Yeah.
Um, because there's, for me personally, one of my biggest problems that I have with a lot of critics personally is that there's a dismissiveness about how they talk about a movie. No, it's garbage. Don't wait, don't waste your time. You're better off doing this and that. And for me, I find
Oh
the
man,
problem
but
with that.
you get a lot of that
Oh,
too,
I know,
man.
I know. I'm just saying, but that,
They're just haters, man.
well, I mean, that's what I'm saying though, because I think one of the biggest problems that I have with critics when they do that is because they're being dismissive. But then, I have other thoughts as well too, which I'm not going to get into here. But the fact of the matter is that when someone talks like that and being very dismissive, but not providing context, because maybe the reviews are only 3 minutes long or 7 minutes long, and they can only say so much because that's the cap for them. For me, is if a review is going to be in an hour, that gives me time for me to flesh out those details for me because I feel like it's important. That's just my preference here. But
Yeah.
but when you're hearing those type of reviews for yourself for in anything that you do, I mean, I'm not even sure if it's gonna be a fair question to ask because you've already answered my question, but I'm just curious about how you take in consideration for certain critiques of people
Yeah.
who will say something about what you do on
Well,
both sides
it's
of the field.
yeah. Here's the thing, man. I who to listen to. It's just like when you have somebody that loves your work, right?
Mhm.
Let's say they loved your work, they loved you and this and that, but this particular role, I wasn't feeling it. When they come across like that, then yeah, I'm gonna listen to it. But then again, you have and you've seen it.
Mhm.
Then you got all these freaking haters just for the sake of hating. Like, oh man,
Yeah.
so you look like it's a cardboard cutout. You might as well put a piece of cardboard on it, and that's the kind of acting. You, if it's somebody that just totally hates everything and they're dogging the film and they dog everything. You know what I mean? You don't
Yeah.
want to listen to that. That guy is just a really hateful kind of guy.
Right.
But as opposed to somebody who likes your work, but doesn't quite hit them in this particular movie, or this song doesn't hit me like your other one, then I'm going to listen to it because
Mhm.
they're being real about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
As opposed to somebody just dogging like, it's a piece of trash, blah blah blah. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
There's a difference between that.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, what about when it comes with because you and Todd have shared the story before, especially when it came to Cherokee Creek, where there was a lot of controversy about the film, but there was a lot of controversy about because Todd had explained to me before about that there are experiences we had where people would shit on a movie that he's worked on, especially I think with Cherokee Creek specifically, if I recall correctly, and
Yeah.
they were not legitimate reviews. It was business tactic in a lot of ways. Hey, this movie sucks, and then all of a sudden the viewership of the film that could have been like at the top 10 kind of drops down because hey, all these
Because they put
bad
a
reviews are coming.
because they put a 1 star.
Right, and it purposely brings the film down, and that was their intention. Not seeing the movie, not or maybe they
Yeah.
had saw the film, they liked it, but you know what? Fuck that guy. So 111 all across the board.
Yeah.
So, in that respect for yourself, because you've experienced that too,
Mhm.
how do you handle that side of the for the lack of a better term critique? Because obviously it's critique, but it's not real ones. But for you, in this case,
Yeah.
how do you deal with that now, moving forward from what you guys have experienced with Cherokee Creek? Because I know you guys are still not being able to get the money back from what you guys have put into Cherokee Creek, and that's still an ongoing process here. But
Yeah.
I I would imagine that having the experience you guys have had in the years since the couple of years it's been since the film has been released, well, there's still fans out there, and a guy like myself who, if it wasn't for Todd, I would have never known about the movie.
Right. Right.
So, but when you hearing people that talk about the film and share the movie, but knowing that there's got to be there's a limitation about how you can get access to the film is obviously very frustrating. But for yourself though, having coming off, the heels of, the film's release and all the bullshit that went behind it, do you have a better grasp about how you go about moving forward with any other reviews in that respect where you work really hard on the film and then someone puts in a fake review for the purpose of uh, creating less opportunities for the filmmakers and the people involved with the project because they have a vendetta against them?
Well, I mean, just like I've been going through this with directors, man. They hate that shit. And then there's this thing where I think it's like they do that on purpose. Like, it's just like it's a dog eat dog world.
Right.
You know, they actually have people out there in their team to crush down. It's just, you know, it's just like any business, like whether you have a competition of a restaurant, you know, or some sort of store, and you got your, you know, you got your what is it, your competitive store right across from you, and then you know they dog you no matter what you do. You have that, and you know that that exists. So again, it's just like when I see that, I ignore it. It's just like, man, these fuckers, they're just doing it for the sake of hating. You know.
Right.
Now, if they say why they hate it, I mean, if they put in like why they you know, it's got to be a reason why you hate it. But you got
Right.
to like something else I've done, but you hate this, then I'm going to pay attention. But if it's somebody like, oh, this dog trash, blah, 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 it's like, you're just hating for the, you're just a hateful person. You know, you just suck in general. So I'm gonna skip that. It's just like, now that I know that exists, it's just like, I just shrug my shoulders, like, whatever, man, it's just a hater. Or somebody else is putting in somebody just so we can get our reviews down low. But I'm going to listen to somebody that says, I like the film, but it was a bit too long. You know, that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, this part was not necessary, but when the action came in, it was great, blah, blah, blah. Then I'm going to listen to that.
Gotcha.
Does
Okay.
that answer your?
Well, it does. Yeah. I was just curious to hear your perspective on that. But I think,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, I don't give a shit about the 1 stars and they're like, ah, this piece of crap. It's like, yeah, you're just hating for the sake of hating.
yeah. So here's what I'm curious about now with you about, you know, the thing is that with that I find interesting with guys, people like yourself, like Todd, Brad, Derek, Jason. I've talked to Jesse, Gary Kearns. I mean, a number of guys
Yeah,
that have been doing this for a number of years, right? And but when you take the time to look at what you guys have done here, you know, there of course, I'm not gonna lie, there are some things like I could have been a little bit better, but there are other
yeah,
things I've come across like this is actually really good, and this
yeah,
is the one that's been seen the least, the really good product, where all the other ones that weren't well received were seen the most, but that's the one that
right,
people focus on the most.
yeah,
So because of the, you know, when you have, you know, you've done a number of films and you've obviously been playing music for a long period of time. I'm not sure if for yourself, if you've ever felt like, you know, what the amount of turmoil that comes with acting, and then of course things that goes on your personal life that will some way or shape or form affect with what you do in your job.
yeah.
But when you go through all that, it's clearly obviously you're still very much passionate about it there. But I'm curious for anyone that I've talked to if they ever felt like, you know what, this is not worth it because there's way too much bullshit that's going on for me right now that I'm not getting the job that I know I'm capable of pulling off here. And I understand that's the name of the game, but you know, after one door closing after the other, you know, it's got to. I'm not sure if you had prepared for that or if it became overwhelming, and then maybe some shot of life it was injected into you. We realized, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna move forward because this is what I want to do. So I'm curious if you have one of those like moments where you've come to that realization, or if it's something you've always had from the time you started and still carry that same mindset. So I'm curious if you can give me your
Well,
perspective on that.
yeah, you gotta be careful what you pick and choose as far as especially movies, like what kind of movies you want to do. And there were times where I mean, and I'm not dogging the directors, but you know, again, you know, you got some directors that do great movies, and then some that just do like toilet humor kind of shit. And but they love you, you know, and then they want to take care of you. I mean, overwhelmingly, you know, it's just like flatter, thank you, but at the same time, you know, it's your career, you know,
Right, right.
and your reputation, and you have to take that in consideration. Really, like, hey, look, I can't do projects like that. So, and I've done that before. I'm just like, thank you, but no, thank you. And it sucks because you know, man, you know they want to take care of you very well. But yeah, man, at this point, I mean, careful what I pick and choose as far as film goes. Um, that sometimes you don't even know. Because I mean, let's say you you get in this one movie, and then let's say they've done something great, or the idea was great, and then you already shot the film, and then then it comes out, you're like, oh my god, what I just do.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you don't get it. But I do watch what I try to pick and choose on what I'm getting.
So here's an example. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. For example, like, and I hope Brett doesn't mind bringing this up here, but when I saw Copper Bill, I thought it was a good movie up until the
Yeah.
last 10 minutes of the film, which I personally had a problem with here, and Brett kind of more or less share the same sentiments too. But when you watch a movie you've worked on really hard, and you've already touched upon it just now, but I'm curious about, hey, this movie was so good. I mean, we worked on this movie. The script was fantastic. Everything was on that we were doing on set during the production worked out really well, and I was pretty confident how it was going to turn out. And then when I saw, I was like, it was good up until this point. What happened? And then it
Right.
changes the trajectory of things. How it could have possibly turned out for you to be able to possibly garner more opportunities. Where because of that one change or the several changes
Well,
that came along the way, you realize, fuck, this is not going to work out now
I
because you know,
yeah, well, there's some things I could talk about and I can't.
right. I'm aware of a few things
I
here.
know what you're talking about, that
Yeah.
movie, and I know what happened. But
Yeah. Same here.
yeah, I'll let Brett talk on
Yeah.
that.
Well, no, I'm not talking about you to comment about what happened behind the scenes. That's not what I'm referring to. But I'm referring to like when you watch something. I was using Copper Bill as an example to highlight about that was a good movie.
Yeah.
Up until the very end of it, of course, that we don't have to go into again. But when you watch them like that, the amount of work and knowing the anticipation that everyone was putting into it, and all of a sudden it just kind of derails at a certain point. Like
Yeah,
when
I
you
mean,
because you've had that. I'm more I'm more than conversation. You've had those experiences more than once,
yeah.
and seeing that like, man, this was really good up until this
Up to
part
that
here.
part. Yeah, I know, but I mean, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. It's just it's their movie. It's like I got hired to do that, and yeah, when you see that, and you go, man, that's just unfortunate. That's all I can say, man. It's just like, yeah, that's unfortunate because it was doing really good, and then that part happened. But it's not my movie, so now if my name was attached as like a producer or something like that, that'd be a different story because you're in it. That's your reputation as far as a producer in there, and you're like, hey, what the fuck happened? And that's where the heated moment happens. But that's why I try to stay clear from being a producer.
Mm,
But yeah, man, I don't know. It's happened to some movies more than once,
yeah.
and I've seen that, especially independent films, and you're just like, fuck, man, I don't know. I mean, it sucks, but I was an actor. I I got cast. I just showed up for work. You know, just to let you know, it wasn't my fault. That's what I say. I don't know.
Well, for you though, what's a film that you've done or a part that you've played where you look back and say, that was one of my finest moments because I've been able to accomplish what I intended on accomplish, or I discovered something along the way that I had a perspective about it. Then later on, as I started getting into the character and started shooting the scene or the film, that a lot had changed for me about how I wanted to approach it, which brought out the best in me. Like, is there a film that you look at where you feel like this was me at my peak?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, that's why I like working with Derek. I mean, we get into the character and all that stuff, and he gives me whatever I want to do with it. And I like that. I mean, you like that where you have that time to think about it, and you're not rushed, and you're free to breathe of what to bring in the character. I like shit like that. I mean, clearly, like some of the movies that I have a bigger role in are like that. Even like with Brett, same thing. Like when we did uh what was it, Operation Overlord. I thought that was really cool. I liked it a lot. I mean, I was able to bring in whatever I brought into that movie at the time, and sometimes those day player movies not so much, because it's kind of like I only have so much to work with, and it's pretty much like a
You
rush
said day player?
day player. Like I'm there for like a 1 day.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Where it's like a small role.
Like what you did in Buckskin, where I think you were just there for like half a
Yeah,
day, right? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's only so much you can do with
Right, right.
that. How can I bring the letter to the guy? But yeah, man. When I get more, I don't know. Same thing with when you watch Dead Awake. That was a day player, but it just depends on the character, man. You know what I mean? It's just like if you watch Dead Awake, and I had to bring in this. I mean, I'm like, what I play? Played a victim of sleep paralysis, and I hadn't slept in a year. So I'm like, okay. So method acting. I went on set. I didn't even sleep. I just showed up like really tired. That something like that, I love. Man. So you're gonna get a performance out of me. But if it's just something like day player and like, yeah, you're just, you're selling drugs to somebody. There's only or a gun. There's only so much you can do. It's just like, you just kind of do it, right?
Right.
But when you have something to work with, especially like, Whitetail and Redstone was really, really cool. I mean, I don't know if he told you about that story, but there was a lot of like, musical chairs going around. You know what I mean?
Oh
It's
yeah, I'm
like,
aware. Yeah, I'm fully aware of this. Yeah.
like, yeah, it's like you were supposed to be this role, but
Yeah.
nah, you gotta be this role, and
Yeah.
we were all team players. We did it for
Yeah.
the sake of the movie. But yeah, man, I mean, it's just if I get more to work with, if I want to make the character interesting. If the character is already interesting, well, let's make them more interesting. Something like that.
Right.
But I don't know. It just depends, dude. It's so hard. Again, you show up and you don't know what you're gonna get out of it, or what. It's just like the magic's gonna happen. It's either gonna be or not. It's a hard thing to process.
Do you think you're at your happiest when it comes to the creative process for yourself, especially with music and even with acting too? Do you feel like you are at a point right now because you've been on it for so long that you would understand the process a little bit better? Your approach is a little more different. I would imagine that you feel like you, especially if a director and a group of teams are allowing you to take on the character, or in this case, music, whatever it is you're doing here, that you have the ability to just be able to try something that you've never done before, and you feel like you have more of an opportunity in that respect to be able to expand on your arsenal, if you will. And in this case, let's say focus on acting. Like, you feel like you're in a happier place in that respect.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, after you've been doing it for so long, I mean, like with the music thing, I mean, music thing's just different as far as like, you want to write like the baddest freaking song. So all that shit comes in, like all that happens when I'm laying around, whether I'm laying in bed, and then you have a killer fucking riff, and then I have to get up and record it like right there on the spot because this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I bring the whole creative process over here at my studio. The acting thing, I mean, it's just like like if I'm about to shoot something and then I look at the character, what I like to do is just like I like to hear from what the director thinks. Like, well, what do you see this guy being like? Because I'm bringing it right now. I'm seeing it like this. And it's the thing with Derek, the same thing. He was like, well, just bring it to whatever you want to bring it. And I like that. But if they have something to help me work with, then it helps more to bring like really chisel that character of what it should be.
Right.
But again, it's one of those things where it's just like you can't really predict it. You can't really like fine tune it before you come in. It just happens when they say action.
Right.
Pretty much.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, let's see what I could bring out of it.
Do you ever, because I know you said you wouldn't really necessarily go back to producing, but I mean, you ever think about testing the waters outside of acting, looking possibly directing, or maybe screenwriting at certain points where you may
directing? Yeah, no, I thought about it, man, and I wanted to do, start off like just anybody that should start off as a short film,
Mhm.
and then uh, and see what happens. But yeah, I mean, one of these days I just might have a hair up my ass and just fucking just direct something. I don't know. Maybe.
But is that something that you because I mean you've been around enough set. I'm sure, obviously directing and acting are two different jobs here, but being around certain directors here, we were just talking about Derek here, and even working with Brett Benman and several other directors as well too, Rob Zombie, Robert Rodriguez, just to
Yeah.
name a few. But there's got to be something that I'm imagining that you saw what Robert did, and you realize, you know what, I like what he's doing here, because when I saw the film, I was, oh, I get it now because I saw what he was trying to go for.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be a little of that where you maybe get some incentive. Like, you know what, I'm going to try this now because I liked what I saw, and I want to be able to replicate that or do it my way to see if it works for me.
Yeah. The cool thing about seeing Robert Rodriguez, man, that guy, he knows what he's doing. That guy works fast. He's just like, I mean, he's confident. He knows what he wants, man. Seeing him on there, he's just on fire. He's kind of, quiet with everybody else. Of course, you get your DP guy or first AD, whatever you call him, doing all the talking for him. But yeah, he's just on fire. And it's cool to see directors like that. And he is definitely one of the ones that are like that knows what he's doing and knows what he wants, and he knocks it out just like that. Unbelievable. If you ever have a chance to be there behind the scenes with Robert, highly recommend it, man. That guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I think he's one of those underrated directors that a lot of people don't tend to forget how good he really is.
Yeah.
So again, with the question I was trying to refer to here, but I mean, like when you look at that for yourself, watching him work, and Rob
Yeah.
Zombie and all the other directors you've worked with, there's got to be something that you are looking at, like, you know what,
Oh,
I
yeah,
like.
yeah, where I could do that, right?
Well,
Where I'm
yeah, I
able
mean,
to
like,
do it.
I'm sure there's something you take from that where you figured out, I wouldn't do it like how he did it, but
Yeah.
if I were to
Oh,
do
yeah.
it, this is how I would do it for
Well, it's
myself.
just like to each. Yeah, it's to each your own, man. Everybody
Right.
has their being their own creative way. But yeah. But I like the big dogs like that. I mean, I don't know, man. They know what they're doing. They got the top team, and you see how they do it, and you're like, of course, I've been doing it for so long where like I could do it. But yeah, no, absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, there's directors like that, and then of course there's somewhere I like would have done it a certain way, a different way, and sometimes those are those actors or directors that really haven't, have their feet wet
Right.
as much as they have. You know what I mean?
You know, when I learned about what you guys had gone through with Cherokee Creek, considering what the amount of time it took to make the movie, because everyone's schedules all over the place, and they couldn't shoot it all. They had to shoot it at night and so on. So there's a whole story for
Oh
anyone
yeah,
who doesn't
yeah,
know. But I think you've shared the story before, but I don't recall off the top of my head here what your first reaction was the very first time you saw the final cut of the film. Once
sure.
when haven't seen it, yeah. When you saw after everything you guys have gone through, I'm not sure if you had any point. I don't recall if you mentioned this before. That did you have any doubts? Like, I don't know, man, this is not going to turn out very good. And then when you saw the movie, like, holy shit, you know what? This actually works.
Nah, man. Here's the thing with Todd, man. He knows what he wants. He
Right.
he likes that guy's a fan of movies and a
Mhm.
lot of good movies. So when I saw the first cut of it, man, I knew we had something really good.
Okay.
Todd's got the eye, man. Uh, now the thing about I guess being a director gets your movie and you love every freaking bit of this of the of scene that you shot. That's the problem because you got to have somebody else come in and say, "Well, that's too long, man." I know you like that, but it's irrelevant. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why you have your deleted scenes, and when they talk about it, like, I really like that, but we had to delete it for the sake of the storyline.
Right. Right.
More of a flow and all that. I think with Cherokee Creek, it was hard for us to do that. I guess we couldn't we don't want to delete any scenes, but maybe we should have, that kind of thing.
I think the runtime was perfect, to be honest with you. I was a little shocked because it's almost 2 hours long for a horror comedy, like because
Yeah.
what 90 minutes mostly, but I was surprised and honestly it flew by a lot quicker than a lot of other 90-minute films here too. So
Well, another thing that a lot of people don't get is just like it was meant to be like, of course, yeah, there's dialogue, a lot of dialogue,
right,
kind of thing. That's kind of what we were going for, anyways, to begin with. It's just that kind of, it's just the way the story goes and the way we're delivering it, the comedic aspect of how we're delivering each scene, each line, and what we're talking about. We wanted to show less for Bigfoot because that was supposed to be the exciting thing, kind of like Jaws, where you something's out there, and you see a hint of it, and you're supposed to get excited about it. But overall, it was supposed to be a comedy. You were supposed to either love or hate the characters. It was all about just character driven.
right.
Of course, here's the thing with horror fans and stuff like that. They want to see gore right away. That's why when you watch, now, horror gore movies, I'm not really a huge fan of, because that's all it is. It's like a bunch of gore. I can't get into that, man. It's just like that's what some people like, man. They just want to see blood and gore and no plot whatsoever. I don't know what the fuck. But ours had a story. We had a story to tell, but it was a horror movie, some gore. We had a Bigfoot, and yeah, we just brought all those elements in there. But your typical horror fans are like, oh, we want to see more horror or gore and blah blah blah. It's just
I was one of those people too, to be honest with you. So
really,
but I love the story. Don't get me wrong, I loved it, but but because I love my violence in movies. So that was just a personal preference, not because it made the story any less better. It's not that. It was just like I like to see a little bit more gore, but that was just me being a stickler.
I know, man, and I'm not dogging you, man. I'm not really dogging anybody like that. It's just like, look, you have a lot of it.
Yeah.
But this one, we wanted to do it a certain way. It was like combining a movie like
Pulp Fiction was one inspiration. Todd said,
like The Hangover.
Yeah,
that's what we're saying. Meets freaking Friday the 13th or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why it was the movie it was. It's like you had more of your dialogue and more. It's like a two-part movie. You had everything, all dialogue and stories, and then we went to the Bigfoot, and of course, a lot of people love that.
Yeah.
But that's just the kind of movie we delivered, man. And to be honest with you, man, we're happy with it. It created a cult following.
Yeah. I hope it gets a bigger one too, because I was blown away when I heard the story that this didn't have that huge following that I believe it warrants here, because it has all those elements that I think any fan of film really, but especially the horror community, I think would be.
Well, here's the thing, man. What messed us up was the whole freaking our aggregator.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Then we had to pull everything out from them so they won't make any more of our money. It was really, really shitty situation. So, but Todd and I, we're yet to discuss when we have time to get together to relaunch it. We're gonna do that.
I hope you guys
relaunch
do
it and then blow it up again. But at the time being, it's just like he's busy, I'm busy, and we'll find a day where we go in there and talk.
I'm not sure if what you're inclining here about what is it you're trying to hint at, but you know what? I'm sure he discussed it before too. I think he may have said something about it in the past, but I don't know what came out of it. But like for me, like this movie would have been like a perfect film to tour with. You see, like what Kevin Smith does with his movies.
We started off that way. We did a little mini tour.
Yeah, and all within the DFW areas, right?
But that was the only thing. We didn't go further. I don't know. Maybe we should do it again. you know?
Yeah, oh my god, if you guys were to do a tour, man, I would promote the fuck out of that because
You
that
know
is
what?
something.
I've heard stories like that where directors have done that,
Mhm.
and I've talked to fans of those directors that went on tour with it, that how much they loved it and they showed up and all that stuff. It was a great experience for them. It's like, yeah, man, we should do that. We should take it on the road.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's kind of a
I
it's
think I think we would have a better run now that the movie is kind of, like people kind of know what the movie is about.
Mhm.
Where the door might be a little bit more open for us to go and
Yeah,
do it.
and hopefully, because I know Todd just announced recently, and I actually got the last copy too. But I think there's no more Blu-rays left right now, so I'm hoping that would garner more interest for to bring
The
more physical
theatrical.
media out on the tour.
Yeah,
Hey, we've got the movie, you know,
yeah,
buy for whatever the amount is going to be
yeah.
for. But
We'll bring our hot sauce with us so you can get
yeah,
a hot
yeah,
sauce.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I
By the
mean,
way,
like,
did you get yours yet?
no, not yet, not yet.
Okay, everybody that I send it to, well, you're more further away.
Yeah,
You're in North
I'm out on the
Carolina.
East Coast here.
Okay, so yeah, everybody that I've sent like regionally around here, they got theirs. They
Yeah.
messed.
Yeah, I
So
haven't
yours
got
is
mine
coming.
just yet. So yeah, I'm gonna look at. I was expecting it's gonna be a little longer because even when I ordered Cherokee Creek, it took I can't remember the exact time frame, but I remember thinking, okay, so it's coming from Texas. It's gonna be probably the same length of time it took
Yeah,
for Cherokee to arrive. So I
yeah.
was all right, well, but if it's going more for a few weeks, like hey yo, I haven't got it yet, so I'll let you know. But I'm
You
not
let me
concerned
know.
about
Yeah,
that.
but I know it's on its way.
Yeah. So here's what I would like to know about you, specifically when it came to so okay, so I'm gonna have to get a little bit backstory about this here. The people that you've met throughout the years, okay,
Yeah.
and I'm not talking about just the people we just talk with, but I'm talking about people in general that you've developed relationship with here that you have. Like in this case, well, let's use Robert Rodriguez as an example because I know you have a pretty good relationship with him. Where, if I recall correctly, you mentioned before that hey, um, you may email him, hey, I'm interested in this part. Okay, cool. Come on down here. I still have to audition you, but here's a list of stuff you can check out here for. So my question to you is this: the relations that you have developed throughout the years clearly in some way shape or form has helped out, especially when you've been able to maintain a long lasting relationship with a lot of these people you've worked with in the industry, whether it be mainstream or in the indie scene. For all the people that you've worked with here and you have developed these relationships, obviously in a lot of ways I've also seen these garner more opportunities here for you because you guys had a great rapport with what you worked on previously. Because I know you worked with Todd. I'm sorry, I meant to say, well, yeah, worked with Todd on more than one film. You've worked with Derek on more than one movies as well too. Obviously, Brent Bedman, and just to name a few. But with the amount of people that you've worked with here, for yourself, do you? I'm curious about how you look at how, for example, like Robert Rodriguez, who is more of a mainstream name because most people will
Mhm.
know him for the stuff he's done in the last 20 years here.
Yeah.
Brett Bennett, in this case now Derek Presley, you know, Derek has been kind of getting a bit of a surge here right now where he's gotten some films that have garnered some more attention, more or less
Hmm.
bringing a lot of mainstream people in the indie films as well too. So it's
Yeah.
obviously created more opportunities for him in other areas where he's been able to get more work quicker, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense. Brett, on the other hand, is kind of in a different playing field where he's got a really good relationship with the distribution company where he's been able to make films. He's making one film after the other. And so there's a lot of opportunity that presents himself, which in turn I would imagine also presents you to, hey, I'm going to work on a film in the next coming months here. Are you clear for this period? Yes, I am. Okay, well, I'm going to give you this part. Are you interested? Yes or no? Good. Well, and then this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So for yourself, because of these relationships you've developed here and the potential relationships that are going to be coming out of it down the line here too, I'm actually really curious about how your perspective has changed with the industry because of the relationship you've developed here. Because one thing I've noticed with a lot of people is that the people who've worked together the most have been at it for such a long period of time that it's very rare that I've seen that they'll bring in more people to be
Yeah.
part of that inner circle, if you will. So for the
Yeah.
fact that you've been able to develop a relationship with a number of different directors, a lot of different people in the industry, and I'm not saying you're separating yourself from everybody else when you work with this circle and that circle, but it seems like okay, so I work with these guys, I know how they work, boom, I can get this job done. Work with these guys over here, I know how they work, boom, get the job done here, and so on and so forth. How have you handled yourself in transitioning from one part of relationship with a director to another, and what have you learned from that about how you go about it when it comes to the next set of work that you're looking at here, especially when you're working with a director you've never worked before, but you have those experiences about developing a relationship, how that change your perception, how you would approach it when when you're working with a director that you more or less may want to vet out just to make sure that you can um, see what to be expecting when it comes to the production you're going to be working on.
Um, it's just like family, man. It's just like, you go over here to your cousin's house and you got your uncles over here. It's just, when you're over there, it's a mad respect with them. And then same with the other family, it's just like, it's just a big family. It's just whenever you're with that family, you focus of what you're doing over here. I don't know, something like that. I guess it's just a simple little thing. It's just, um, yeah, and just being fortunate enough to have that family, or being in that circle, whatever. I don't know. I don't really think too hard about it. It's just like that. I mean, does that answer the question?
I mean, I guess it does, but not that I was expecting you to give me an answer that's gonna like oh, I get it now. But it's more because I was just curious to how you approach it now, because
Yeah, just like that, like a family.
okay, so because the thing is that like I said before, there are some people who work really well together, and you hear these stories, especially in Hollywood, where, for example, you work, Steven Spielberg is one of the biggest examples that I came across. I actually
Yeah,
met someone, conversed with someone, Jesse B. Johnson, who's worked with him on more than one occasion. But one thing he noticed right away is that the people that he's worked with on his sets, they've been with him for years, and these are the guys that you're
yeah,
not going to know by name, but they
right.
know how Steven works. That okay, I need to get ABC. No, don't worry, we got it. And he even said to the
Yeah,
point where they work a lot quickly, a lot more quicker than most TV shows, which work very quickly. But he said a
that's
lot
why
of
they.
stuff they'll do their shit
That's why
quickly.
That's why they like. Yeah, like if you notice like directors like that, and you see their whole circle of people,
Hmm.
especially with their actors, it's like the same people. It's because they work so better with them. It's like good harmony.
Right.
So, yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, and some have told me that before, like, hey, you're part of the circle, you're part of the family, and it's very, very good to hear. But yeah, that for that reason, that's why that happens.
Do you think though for yourself though that because you've been able to develop that relationship, that your love for the industry has also gone up as a result of that as well too, because you've worked with a
Oh
number
yeah,
of people that has helped your
yeah,
career in a lot of ways too, that you know what,
yeah,
I'm
man.
grateful. Okay.
Because I mean, because you're doing work right now, and whenever they release something, it's gonna be great. It's gonna go into like a good outlets, platforms, stuff like that. It's gonna get out there. It boosts everybody's career. So yeah, oh yeah, I am. I could honestly say I'm blessed on that part. But yeah, it's just it's a fun. It's it's a good place to be.
Good. All right, so here was one other thing I was actually really curious with you here, and I hope you don't mind me asking this question here, but with the amount of stuff that you do now, the attention that you get. So when it comes to you, how things have gotten more, you got garnered more opportunity for you. As a result of that, do you feel like have you noticed a difference in how people react to you as well too now, whereas before maybe you weren't getting the attention that you may have that you were.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So so I'm
yeah.
curious how
You just
you
take
handle
it.
it for yourself now and how people react to you and respond to you now because of what you've been doing in the last couple of years.
Oh man, I'm humbled by it. I'm like honored. You don't take it for granted, man. Like again, like when like I like doing the conventions, and then you I get the fans coming up, you know, praising me all that. Everybody likes that. I mean, like except you have to you got to stay grounded, and I've thought that for so long. Where I want to say I am grounded when I talk to people, and I listen to them, and I cherish every moment of that, man. And I'm trying to say that without sounding so cliche and so lame, but it's for real. It's just like because giving them giving that impact to those people, and they come to you and say, "Man, you're great." Yes, it's. I don't want to say like it's a big responsibility, but it's just like it's like thank you for allowing me to make you feel that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just a humble thing. You have to be nice and I listen to them. You know what I mean?
I got you. So with the convention stuff here, because I'm actually curious how that actually worked for you, because when you were first offered to do a convention, what was your reaction? Because for me, when people go out to conventions nowadays, it's like it's a very common thing for people to be doing now,
Yeah.
where
Oh yeah.
you meet
Oh
the
yeah.
fans and whatnot. The
Yeah.
first time you actually experienced that for you, considering that's a new aspect of as a way to earn some money, because that's what a lot of people
Yeah.
do
It's
very
another
well in
gig.
there as well too. Right. Doing that for the first time for yourself outside of films and music, um, did you have a preconceived notion like, nah, I'm not interested in doing that at all because it's not, I don't know how to, who's gonna want to see me?
No, yeah, no.
Okay.
I love it. I welcomed it. First time I did it though, man, I was so green to it. Me and a buddy of mine, he was also in Machete and a few of Robert's movies. We did a convention together, and Machete had just launched. And there's a guy here that does conventions, really cool guy. He gave us the opportunity to do it, and it blew up. I mean, we had a line galore, man, and we were so, I guess, green and humble, where we were just like, it's ridiculous. Like some of these big stars, what they charge for like a still headshot. It's like,
Oh yeah,
what?
yeah.
You're taking a little bit of advantage of that. But we were like, $5, man, here, like that. We're like, we don't know what to do. But also, after a while, it's just like I say to myself, I'm like, man, I haven't done enough, or I'm not big enough for it. And I still say that now. It's like, yeah, I'll do it, but I'm not big enough to like freaking Danny Trejo or Robert Englund that have a freaking line from here to like 3 blocks down.
Mm-hmm.
I always think that I'm not big enough. That's why I always say, like, God, wouldn't it be great to do a Star Wars movie or freaking Spider-Man movie?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it ups your level of celebrity status, whatever the fuck it is. But I do it anyways, man, and I don't do too bad. And I got fans out there, and I thank every blessing I got for that. So I've learned to just kind of
what's
go
the
with
most that people notice you for when it comes to the work? Are they mostly checking out because of
Machete,
okay,
like Machete, or The Last Stand with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I guess that's. Have you ever seen
that's
that?
right. You were in that movie.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the
For
movie in such a long
some reason,
time.
a lot of people know that scene. Like they were like, thankfully, everybody likes that scene I did with Forrest Whitaker. So they know that, and Alita Battle Angel, even
Yeah,
though I just had a line in the movie. What's the other one? Well, Three from Hell, but you can't tell it's
yeah, you
me.
had the mask on. Yeah,
but when they do find out and then they see it, they really go nuts over that, because Rob Zombie has a fan base galore, man.
yeah.
Like you wouldn't believe, man. I mean, you have Rob Zombie fans out there like that. It's that's big.
I know. I'm one of them. I know. I'm very aware of his fan base out there.
Hey, man, going back, I love telling this story. When I don't know if I told you about. I don't know. This is the first time we're talking. I don't know if I told you.
Last time we were talking. No, I know.
Yeah. No, but okay, now going back to what we're talking about, like doing something incredible on set.
Right.
When I went there, I go, man, I'm a huge Rob Zombie fan. I was I was like a little boy there, like a crazy fan, like, oh my God, starstruck, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I know how to keep that demeanor down. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go meet Rob, and we did, and all that. He looked at my outfit for approval, and it was great. He was busy, and he was like doing stuff, and they took me over there with him, and they said, hey, this is Billy Blair, and he looks at me and he goes, oh hi, I'm Rob. I go, Billy. He looks at my stuff and he goes, perfect. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I go back to the trailer, and it's time to shoot the scene. And I wanted to make it really good. I mean, by all means, dude, going back now that I'm thinking again, I want to give it my all. If I'm gonna have a scene, I want it to be freaking good. So with Rob Zombie, he goes, all right, you're gonna come in. You've seen the movie, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're gonna walk in, and you're with the gun, and then Sherry Moon's gonna just tag you right in the neck
Yeah.
with an arrow. I'm like, then I was again. It's the whole process when you show up on set, where everything starts working. Like, okay, well, how am I gonna do it? I really want this to really work out. And then I go, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. So Rob's like, you ready? I go, hell yeah. So I come in, and then they do the camera magic thing where they put this the tail end of a arrow,
Oh, that right.
had like a magnet onto like a collar thing, and they just clip it right there. So they used the camera trick like that, like the quick pan,
Yeah, yeah.
where it looked like it jabbed me right in the neck. So I go, man, what I'm gonna do is, like, when he does that and I get tagged in the neck, I'm supposed to be like a tough guy, right?
Yeah.
But I'm gonna scream like, ah, you know. So I did that, man, like, ah. And Rob loved it so much, dude. He came running in like, wow, that's phenomenal. I love it. He did that. I'm like, holy shit. After that day, man, like even the next day on set, he was like, hey man, what's up? It's like I won him over.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, fucking Rob, he's telling me what's up. Yeah. So that's what I wanted. I was going for that. It's
Right.
like I didn't want, not that I wanted to win the moment. Of course you do.
Right.
You want, it's like, look, man, this is my time to be on the scene, and you want to sell it. It's like you want people, like, they're gonna remember you because of that. I'm
Right.
all about that. Like but that shit happens when I show up on set, man. It's just like, okay, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Oh yeah. Now I know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's times I've been on set, man, where I'm like, there's only so much you can do. Like when I did Infamous, Todd's in the movie.
Yeah, well, that's with Bella Thorne, right? Is that the one I'm thinking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm selling guns to Bella Thorne and her love interest in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And my scene's not, I don't think it's memorable because it's just, I don't know, I'm supposed to be a redneck selling guns, so there was only so much I could do with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, stuff like that, you're like, those are the kind of scenes you're looking at like, I wish I could have done it better, but
Is there
it is what it is.
Is there something you've done? Let's say you worked on a set on something and you realized you felt like it wasn't very good. Like I didn't think I did very well. And then
Oh
when you
yeah,
saw it, no, but when you saw it though, you were like, you know what? That actually wasn't very bad. It was actually
yeah.
really good.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, like well, which one, man? I want to say The Last Stand. I thought I didn't do as well, but it's actually like a pretty good scene. But yeah. I never feel like I nailed it. Like there's some movies coming up that I work with that are about to be released, and I remember being on set. I just felt like I don't know. I guess because I would fuck up a little bit, and it just depends, dude. Because sometimes I guess when you get older too, your brain kind of goes and you forget lines and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I know what you're
And
talking
then
about.
I'm like, man, you feel like your delivery wasn't great. But then again, who knows? I mean, those movies are yet to come out, so we'll see when those movies come out. But yeah, I get a lot of that. But like Whitetail and Redstone, I felt like I was on fire. You
I
know,
thought you were on fire too. Yeah, I
well,
agree with you
thank you.
100%. Yeah, I really mean that.
There was a lot of confidence in that.
Do
Like
you go
I felt really comfortable.
do you go back and watch the films you've done whether it be from a number of years ago or just, or
Nah,
do you go back and watch films that you've done just on the premiere nights, whatever the case may be?
just when the premiere comes out, I'll watch it.
Okay.
I don't. I try to just move on. I mean, if somebody wants to watch a movie, like my family, like my sisters,
Hmm.
like I go I go over there and they go, hey, let's watch. Everybody want to watch Operation Overlord. I thought that was cool. Everybody loved that, and I said, okay, I'll watch it again. You know, and it's funny, and your scenes, and you look at yourself, and then that's when it comes out like I could have done that better. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Well, you know what scene got
You
me
start
rolling was what was it? The 10 scene, like 999 10. Yeah, bam,
oh
10.
yeah.
I
That
thought that was fucking hilarious. I love that scene.
that I want to say that was like
I think Brett said
improvised
he
right there.
yeah.
Yeah, that was like brought up um, with uh, Brett Brett idea and mine, or it was his idea, but we just the way all right, well let's do it this way. Like yeah, I love shit like that. Another improvised thing that we did was I like working with Brett with Bull Shark at the
Mm.
very end, because for some reason when I kept saying I poke it with a stick.
Oh, I love that line. But I
Well,
put it with a stick. Yeah.
I somehow brought that into the character. I think
And then you
I made
say,
it. I made that up.
I need a beer after that as well, too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
was funny. But the funny thing is, like every time we were shooting at it, when I was like, "Man, you saw it was dead. I poked it with a stick,"
Yeah.
and they loved it. They laughed at it. I was like, "Dude, you keep saying you poked it with a stick," and well, whereas like we kept it like I think it was the following day when like at the very tail end when I give him that what is it, that CO2 thing to blow up the chart?
Oh, the C4.
C4, that's what
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is. So that was another thing, another improvised. Like, he goes, say something there, and he goes, hey, why don't you say, poke it with a stick? So like we brought it in again.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
all right, so it's like poke it with a stick, and then that was also improvised when I did they're like, hey, do something. It's like you got to have your outro of the scene, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's like, so I came up with that where it's like, or I think it was all like we all talked about it, but I improvised it more. It was like I made that, and then since I look more like a wrestler and I had the shirt, Macho Man,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
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 So I improvised that along with it. It's like, well, you look like a wrestling fan. You got the, you kind of,
What do you think,
you
Macho
kind of,
Man?
you kind of looking like a Macho Man, and so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And so I improvised that. It's like, right, Macho Man.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at the shirt. So
That's
so all that, those are all
that's
fun, man.
a fun movie. I actually enjoyed that one a lot. And I had a conversation with Red before about that movie too, because when he hinted at about what he said about Crazy Little Shark Film, I was like, oh, I hope it's not like not that everything is against sci-fi films. There's some films I enjoy that sci-fi do, or the asylum films, I should say. But I was wondering if Brett was kind of going to go more of that line, because I was thinking like you're doing everything else so well. I hope you don't kind of go off the rails with this one. I'm not to say that if he did, it wouldn't work, but
No, I know what you mean.
but what I was like, but when I saw the movie, I remember I messaged him like, "Yo, this is a really good movie. I really like this film a lot." And
Yeah,
one of the first
no, it's
things I
great.
complimented was that Blair and Hallam are fucking gems together.
Yeah,
They should have another film. Um, like I always picture you guys because I think you guys are at your best when you guys are like at it with each other. But I
sure.
want to see that partnership, but like outside of World War II, but just something else in a different type of a partnership here that I think you guys do so well. And that honestly, if it was up to, I mean, if it was up to me, I would have you be the Hallam version, Hallam, and then
Oh,
Hallam
kind of
would be
flip flop.
you, flip flop it
Right,
around. Like, do not
right,
do
right.
something expected. Have you be like the tough guy, and then Hallam be like, you know, but poke it with a stick, something to that effect. See where I'm going
Yeah,
with
yeah,
it.
yeah, no, no, no. No, that's great. No, and I'm glad that it works like that. And I don't know if you notice, like at the end of the movie, where I go fishing and
Oh
then
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking, and then the shark comes up and I pull up a stick.
So
That was the whole thing. It's like, hey, why don't you just have a stick with me? That was another thing. And then,
yeah.
well, um, he Brett hinted another project. Again, I'm not going to say nothing, but there's something in the works, I guess,
Mm.
that you're gonna like. So I'll just leave it as that.
He's somewhat
Yeah.
shares some ideas, especially because this is a conversation that we had about about because we were talking about a number of his movies in the last time he was on the show, but he was throwing like he some of the ideas he was sharing at least in that conversation. It's out there, so I don't think it's secret here. But he was like, yeah, we're looking at a sequel. If there's gonna be a sequel, we would do it would be Bull Shark. But we are throwing ideas as far as how he's gonna go, how he wanted to go about it. And one of the ideas was that you were gonna be in the movie. And I was like, well, I thought he was I thought he died. Well, at least that was the impression we get from the movie. We don't see
Everybody
you
thought
die.
that. That's
Right, right. But that was the impression. But I was like, but we didn't see you die. So yeah, it's a possibility you would come out. And honestly, I never told this to Brett, but I had these ideas in my mind about how you would come back. And the first thing I thought of, like, I could, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way. I was like, I could see him be more like the modern day Pyre, where he has got his leg bit off and he's walking on those what do you call those like a prosthetic leg. But I was
like
thinking
a
more of
process. Oh,
like
you know what, dude? I would totally do that. That'd be a great idea. See, I that would be a challenge for me. It would be like you would have to be like an amputee.
yeah,
You play a handicap.
yeah.
Oh, I would love that.
But and honestly, I was thinking more like an eye patch. So it would
Yeah,
literally be like I'm not saying Brett told me
like a
anything.
modern day pilot.
Right, like be a modern day pilot. You have you're an amputee. You have an eye patch, and then there is a mission. Now it's kind of like a small scale Moby Dick, if you will, where you
Yeah.
have a
Oh, yeah,
mission, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
Hallam is now your partner, and now you guys
yeah.
have to work together. Like that's how I pictured it. I'm again, this is just like that was like because I
Hey,
love that story so much.
did you tell Brett that?
No, I haven't had it. I mean, honestly, no, I
I
didn't at
kind of,
all.
if you don't mind me asking that, tell him that. You mind if I tell him that?
No, no, not at all. Not at all.
I mean, because again, I don't want to no spoilers or
Oh no,
nothing,
no, no, no. Go ahead.
but something was
Yeah.
brought up to that effect, and I kind of like that idea, man.
Oh, really? Okay.
I
I
like
think
that
that would be
idea
great. Yeah.
that where I had my fight with the shark, and now I
Right.
want to retaliate. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you said, Moby Dick.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, you get the wheels rolling, but that's a Brett memory. So
Yeah. No, I know. I know. I'm just saying, but like, it dawned on me like how because the reason why I was thinking about that is because I really did enjoy Bullshit. I thought that was a fun movie. But the thing is that because that film was the last time that you and Hallam worked together, I was like, I love like I mean, you have no idea what I'm telling you. I love you guys' partnership so much that if there's something you guys can do with that story and take it to a whole different direction, what would that direction be? Well, you have to force the partnership. These guys have a history together, therefore, they know their good and bad habits. Hallam's character, I forget his name's off the top of my head here, but
yeah, me too.
he's yeah, he's a recovered alcoholic now, so now he's on point. Whereas your character will start off somewhat goofy, but now you're still the same guy, but you have a little bit more like
Anger.
a more resentment now. Like you have a lot of
Yeah,
tension built
resentment. Yeah,
up, and then but you
yeah.
still carry that same comedic elements. Like it's like instead of saying I'm going to poke it with a stick, I'm going to poke it with a knife. Now, like that's kind of the difference now. So no longer
Yeah,
sticking.
now you really want to kill this thing.
We're like you, like it's all fuck the stick. I'm going to get the knife now. I'm going to get the jab. I'm going to go
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hardcore this here. So
Hey man, I
there's a
like the way you think.
so
Yeah, no, that's good. That is
Yeah.
good.
So
You
it
gotta let
dawned on me
Brett
how to
know
go
that,
about it
man.
here.
Tell Brett that.
What was I gonna say next? I was going on with something with this here, but yeah. So I mean, again, like that, the fact that I was able to, and I'm going to go back to what I said before in the beginning, where so for me, if it wasn't for Todd reaching out to ask me to watch Cherokee Creek, who knows if I would have ever come across you, Todd, or
Oh,
any guys out here, or let alone if even Brett did reach out and not knowing who you were, and
yeah,
then finding out, seeing what you've done through the B-22 productions. There's so much that I don't know how things would have turned out, but all I can say right now is that I am so thankful that Todd, Brett, and everyone else involved that and Derek as well too. You all have worked together, and each
yeah.
one of them have told a side of you that's really consistent all across the board. They really have said nothing but great things about you.
Awesome.
And then the
Thanks.
thing is that I've also picked up on as well too is that I always like to root for more of the underdogs. The
Yeah.
stories that people tend to overlook. That that's why I pointed out, if only as the first thing about the thing that I had picked up on from you that you had shared on social media,
Yeah.
which is actually available on your YouTube channel right now
Yeah.
too, for anyone who
Yeah.
doesn't
It's
know.
on my YouTube page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which I'll have a link in there in the description below for people to
Yeah.
check out. But
Yeah.
that is something that I figured that I'm always looking out for. What have done that most people I know for a fact will overlook. And the reason for that is because I think a lot of times most people tend to put in a lot of the best efforts. Not saying you haven't done it before with all the other projects you've worked on that we've talked about, but they'll put in a different side of their efforts that you do very well in other areas, but you get a time to shine and doing something else outside of what you've been normally known of doing here. And that's why I wanted to highlight If Only first, because there's a lot of things that I've taken away from that story. There's a lot of personal investments in there. There's clearly the family element added to it there, but there's also the realities of what you may have gone through that obviously was tweaked a little bit, but definitely did carry on with the performance that brought out a side of you that I think most people may not realize you can actually pull off here.
Yeah.
I take the time to look at what you've done. So when I reached out to you, I do this with everybody. I make every effort to talk to look into what everyone that I'm going to be getting into a conversation with here to see what they've done, because the last thing I don't want to do is yeah, I saw Machete. What did you do in Machete? How was that? Because you've already answered those questions, and we don't need to go through those again.
Well, of course.
But at the same time, the things that you have done that I think you actually showcased the best of your ability were the films that I think people need to look out further, where they can really truly
Yeah.
showcase see the skill levels you have. So I'm kind of rambling on here, but the point I'm getting is that I really was so nervous to ask you, and I'm being very genuine. I was very nervous to ask you, "Hey, would you like to be on my show?" Because I'll be frank with you, I thought I'm not saying not to say that they have all the guys I've talked to have indicated that
Yeah.
they're very standoffish. I'm not. That's not what I was getting at. But I was just honestly, I was nervous that I can't. I'm really busy, and I'm like, fuck, because I really want to talk to him right now. Like
Yeah. No,
that's
no,
me
no.
being selfish.
Yeah.
So I think that the fact that you've given me the time out of your day, for me personally, if this is a big deal for me, and I mean that when I say that, because I am a genuine fan of
Thank you.
you as an artist, but I do respect you as also as a person as well too, because I've listened to enough interviews that I picked up on the
Thank you, bud.
consistencies you've carried here. So
Thank
so
you,
this
man.
is
It
me
means a
giving
lot.
you your flowers of what I have come to appreciate. And honestly, man, I really can't thank you enough for you giving me the time out of your day, because I am a I'm kind of fanboying here, which is kind of I feel like I'm kind of stuttering a lot of ways because
No, you're good, man.
yeah. So but yeah, that's what I
Dude,
want to say
hey,
here.
hey,
But
you saying that, dude, man? I'm humbled. I'm flattered. I mean, thank you for that. Really,
yeah,
man. I mean, it's, I don't know. It's just sometimes you cherish why we do these things in the
yeah,
first place and what reaction other people get, from your work. And that's the thing, man. That's the thing when I once said, oh, that's a big responsibility, but it's just like for you, for someone like me to do that, just for somebody, like you and anybody else to feel that way, it's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm honored. How about that? It's just, it's an honor to do that.
yeah. Well, the honor's mine,
And
man. Seriously.
yeah, man. And yeah, thank you. That's all I could say is thank you very much for that.
Oh no, I can't. I'm going to repeat myself, but it truly was an honor for me, and I meant every word I said. I was very nervous and I was very excited, and I think one of the things that some people may tend to forget is that the same reaction that I probably would have if I were to meet an actor that I have grown up watching my entire life, and be excited to meet them as well too. There are other actors out there that I've become a fan of that I know most people may not hear of. And I'm like, but you got to give them the same time and attention that you would for all these other actors that you've come across here, because they're just as good. I'm not saying they're not. I'm not going to say that, well, I was trying to be careful how I say this here, but they're just as good. And in a lot of ways, they can be better too, because you see with all these high caliber actors do the same thing. And to their credit, I understand why they do it there. But these other actors that most people tend to overlook, they're doing something completely different, and they have the opportunity to do something different. Most people won't notice that. So, I've become a big fan of Tom Hallam, yourself, Todd Jenkins.
I was going to say, Tom Hallam's another actor.
He's another actor.
You need to see more of that guy.
Yeah. So, for me, it's been an honor for me to be able to meet a lot of people that I've been able to converse with and learn a lot from. I just have a fun time in conversing with them and learning some things that they've been able to share along the way too, that I think I'm hoping that people will take the time to listen and understand where they're coming from with that. But again, I'm rambling on here because I can go on for hours with that. But I appreciate again everything you've given me here so far.
Okay.
But for the camera here, I will say again, thank you. It was an honor, it was a privilege. I'm sure if I had condensed all that to not repeat myself again, but
thank you, man. Thank you for having me on your show, man. I've watched your other reviews, and you look like you're doing something really good with this one.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Really, I mean that.
With your podcast, dude, and I love your background, dude. Is that like a collection of?
It's all VHS tapes here.
Wow, that's amazing, dude. You got to have a house like mine where you got like toys everywhere.
Oh yeah. So I got toys here.
Yeah.
I got action figures over there. There's Garfield bins over there too, because I'm a huge Garfield fan. So yeah.
I got that shit all over my house too.
Yeah, it's a museum basically. My house is a museum. I've got stuff from like decades ago that still keep here, and I could sell this stuff, and I probably last 10 lifetimes without having to work again. So that's how I put it. Yeah. All right. Well, so for the camera, we're just gonna sign off here. But again, I want to thank you again for your time.
And thank you for having me.